I got kicked out because I disrespected my stepbrother. Little did my stepdad know that I found out his secret. I never thought my own family would turn against me because of some spoiled kid who walked into our lives 2 years ago. But here I am, sitting on a friend's couch, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everything went downhill so fast. Let me explain. It was just me and my mom for most of my life. My dad died when I was 10, and she did everything she could to keep us afloat. I loved her for that. We didn't have much, but we were close. We talked about everything: school, girls, my dreams, all of it. Then she met Daniel. At first, I was happy for her. I was 17, old enough to understand she deserved someone to love. She'd been lonely for years, and Daniel seemed nice. He was calm, polite, and always smiling. He had a good job, a decent house, and a 15-year-old son named Liam. Mom told me they'd been dating for almost a year before introducing him to me. I remember that day clearly. We went to a small restaurant, and everything felt normal at first, until I met Liam. He barely looked at me, just sat there scrolling on his phone while his dad bragged about how brilliant he was. I tried to start a conversation, but he gave short, dry answers. "Hey man, you play any sports?" I asked. He shrugged. "Not really. Sports are for people who don't have real hobbies." I let it slide, thinking maybe he was just shy. But something about him rubbed me the wrong way from day one. A few months later, they got married. No big wedding, just a small ceremony. Mom seemed so happy, so I pretended I was too. We moved into Daniel's house because it was bigger and made more sense financially. That's when everything changed. Liam had his own room, big, air conditioned, with a gaming setup that probably cost more than my entire wardrobe. I was given the guest room downstairs. It smelled weird and had a broken window latch, but I didn't complain. I figured it was temporary. Daniel was strict about rules. In this house, he said, we do things a certain way. That way basically meant whatever Liam wanted happened. If I cooked something, Liam would walk in, wrinkle his nose, and say, "That smells awful. Don't stink up the kitchen." If I tried to watch TV, he'd come over and say, "Dad said I could use it. You can watch later." And if I dared to talk back, he'd run to Daniel, who'd always side with him. "Tevin," my mom would whisper, "just ignore him. He's still adjusting." Adjusting my ass. The kid wasn't adjusting. He was taking over. One night, about 2 months after moving in, I was up late working on an assignment. My laptop charger was missing. I searched everywhere, then found it plugged into Liam's Xbox. "Dude," I said, walking into his room, "that's my charger." He didn't even turn his head. "I needed it." "Yeah, but you didn't even ask." He sighed like I was the problem. "You weren't using it." "I was literally working on something." He rolled his eyes. "So go cry to your mommy." That line hit me hard. I reached over, unplugged it, and walked out. He shouted behind me, "You're so immature, bro," and slammed the door. The next morning, Daniel called me to the living room. "I heard you barged into Liam's room last night," he said sternly. "Yeah, to get my charger that he stole." He folded his arms. "You don't take things from people without asking. That's disrespectful." I laughed. I actually laughed out of disbelief. "He took it from me." Daniel glared at me. "Watch your tone." Mom stayed quiet. That silence from her, that's what hurt the most. It kept happening. Every little thing turned into Tevin disrespected Liam. If he didn't do his chores, somehow it was my fault for not reminding him. If he lost something, Daniel would look at me first. I tried to talk to my mom privately. "Why are you letting them treat me like this?" I asked one night when Daniel was out. She rubbed her forehead. "Please, just try to get along. It's not forever." "I am trying, but you keep choosing them over me." She looked away. "It's complicated." No, it wasn't. She just didn't want to start another fight. The tension built up for months. Then came the night that broke everything. It was a Saturday. Mom and Daniel had gone to dinner, leaving me and Liam alone. I was in the living room watching a movie when he walked in with chips and soda. He sat down, put his feet on the table, and started changing the channel. "Hey, I was watching that," I said. He smirked. "Not anymore." "Seriously? Dad said I can use the TV whenever." I grabbed the remote back. "You can wait an hour." He snatched it from my hand. "Don't touch me, freak!" I froze. Then he started yelling, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "Stop! You can't just grab me like that." "What the hell are you talking about?" I said, completely stunned. He ran upstairs shouting, "I'm telling Dad!" I thought he was bluffing, but when my parents came home later, I found out he wasn't. Daniel stormed into my room. "What the hell did you do to Liam?" "What, nothing." He started yelling out of nowhere. "Don't lie to me, Tevin," he snapped. "He said you grabbed him and scared him." "That's not what happened," I shouted. "He's lying." Mom stood behind him looking terrified. "Tevin, just apologize," she said quietly. "For what? For existing?" That's when Daniel lost it. "You think you can come into my house and disrespect my son? You're done here." I laughed bitterly. "You're kicking me out for telling the truth?" He pointed at the door. "Get out, tonight." I turned to my mom. "Mom, please." Her eyes were wet, but she said nothing. She just looked away. I packed my bag in silence. Liam stood in the hallway, arms crossed, a smug little smile on his face. "Bye, bro," he said. That's when it hit me. I wasn't part of this family anymore. I left that night with just a duffel bag and my laptop. I walked for nearly an hour before calling a friend to crash at his place. The next morning, I texted my mom asking if she was okay. She just replied, "I need time." Time for what? To get over the fact that I refused to be treated like trash? That was 3 weeks ago. I haven't been back since. I don't even know if my stuff is still there. She's texted me a few times asking if I'm safe, but it's always short, cold messages like, "Hope you're doing okay," like she's talking to a stranger. It's crazy how quickly a family can break apart. I keep replaying that night over and over, wondering if I could have done something differently. Maybe if I just let him change the damn channel. Maybe if I just ignored him like my mom said. But deep down, I know it wouldn't have mattered. Liam wanted me gone. Daniel wanted control. And my mom, she wanted peace, even if it meant losing me. The first few days after getting kicked out were rough. I crashed at my friend Chris's place. He and his mom were kind enough to let me stay in their guest room, but I could tell they didn't expect me to stay long. I didn't either. I thought my mom would call, apologize, and tell me to come home once things cooled down. But she didn't. Days turned into weeks. Every morning, I'd wake up hoping to see her name pop up on my phone, saying, "Come back home, Tevin." Instead, I got silence. The few times she did text, it was stuff like, open quote, "Hope you're safe. Remember to eat. Please don't be angry." Close quote. No apologies. No explanation. Nothing about coming back. I felt like a ghost. Chris would try to cheer me up. "Bro, just stay here until you figure things out," he said. "You're better off without them." I'd nod, but deep down, I missed my mom. I missed how things were before Daniel and his perfect little family came into the picture. After about a month, I decided to go back and at least get the rest of my stuff. I didn't even tell her I was coming. I just showed up on a Saturday afternoon. When I got there, my key didn't work. They changed the locks. I knocked. Liam opened the door halfway, smirking. "Oh, look, it's the runaway." "Where's Mom?" I asked. He shrugged. "Busy. I just want my stuff." He leaned against the doorframe. "Dad said you're not allowed inside, but I can grab whatever you need." I clenched my jaw. "You're unbelievable." He laughed. "Hey, don't get mad at me. You're the one who couldn't behave." That's when Mom appeared behind him. "Tevin," she said softly. "Mom, please, I just want to pack my clothes and books." She looked nervous. "I'll bring them to you later, okay? Why can't I just come in?" "Because," she hesitated, "it's complicated." "Complicated?" I repeated. "It's my home." Daniel's voice came from inside. "You lost that right when you disrespected his family." I saw red. I stepped forward, but Liam blocked me, grinning. "Watch it," he whispered. "Don't want to scare me again, do you?" I almost swung at him, but stopped myself. I just turned around and walked away. My mom didn't even call out to me. That night, I cried for the first time in years. Not because I got kicked out, but because I realized my mom had chosen them over me completely. A few weeks later, something strange happened. My aunt, Mom's older sister, called me out of nowhere. "Tevin, I heard you're not living at home. What's going on?" I hesitated. Long story. Daniel kicked me out. Mom didn't stop him. She went quiet for a bit, she just then sighed. "I'm not surprised." That caught me off guard. "What do you mean?" "Let's just say Daniel isn't as clean as he pretends to be." Apparently Daniel had a reputation. He'd been married before, twice. Both marriages ended badly. The first wife accused him of manipulation and controlling behavior. The second woman left and took their kid. I froze. "Wait, their kid?" "Yeah," she said. "You didn't know?" "I thought Liam was from his first marriage." "No, Liam's from the second one. The first wife had a daughter. Something wasn't adding up. I'd never seen or heard anything about a daughter. When I asked my mom before, she said Daniel didn't like to talk about the past. That night I did some digging online, social media, old posts, anything I could find. And then I found her. A Facebook profile of a girl named Sophie Miller with an old family photo buried deep in her timeline. Daniel, the same name. Younger, but unmistakably him. The caption read, "Me, Dad, and Liam before everything fell apart." Wait, Liam? I clicked the comments. People were wishing them strength, saying things like, "Sorry you're going through this, and you and your brother deserve better." Her brother. That's when it hit me. Liam wasn't Daniel's only kid, but Daniel had lied about the order. Sophie was his firstborn, Liam his second. But in our house, he acted like Liam was his golden child, the perfect one. I decided to reach out. I didn't even know what I was expecting, but I sent Sophie a message. Open quote, "Hey, sorry if this is weird. I think your dad might be married to my mom. My name's Tevin." Close quote. She replied a few hours later. Open quote, "Oh, yeah, that's not weird. I know who you are. Your mom's name is Grace, right?" Close quote. I froze. "How do you know her?" Open quote, "Because she used to text my mom while she was still married to my dad." Close quote. My stomach dropped. Open quote. "Wait, are you saying my mom and Daniel were talking before he divorced your mom?" Close quote. Open quote. "Yep, my mom found out through phone records. It broke her." Close quote. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there staring at the screen. So Daniel had been cheating on his wife with my mom, and now my mom was defending him and his son against me. It made sense now. Why she was always quiet when he spoke. Why she never fought back. She was guilty too. The next day, I told my aunt everything. She sighed. "I figured as much. Grace was desperate for love after your dad died. Daniel knew how to use that. Do you think she knows what kind of person he really is?" "She does," my aunt said, but she won't admit it. I spent the rest of the week trying to focus on school, but it was impossible. My grades started dropping. I was angry, sad, confused, all at once. Then one evening, Mom finally called me. "Tevin, can we meet?" Her voice sounded shaky, like she'd been crying. We met at a small cafe near my old neighborhood. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. "Mom," I said, "why did you let him kick me out?" Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't want to, Tevin, but Daniel said if you stayed, it would destroy the family." "Destroy the family?" I said, scoffing. "Mom, I was your family. He just showed up and replaced me." She wiped her tears. "You don't understand. I was trying to keep things peaceful." "Peaceful?" I leaned forward. "He's lying to you, Mom. Do you even know he has another daughter, Sophie?" She went pale. "How do you know about her?" "So it's true?" She looked down. "He told me she didn't want anything to do with him." "That's bullshit, Mom. She's online. She literally posted about how your perfect husband cheated on her mom with you." Her eyes widened. "What?" "Yeah, you were the other woman, and now he's treating your son like garbage because of his." She covered her mouth, shaking her head. "No, that's not possible." "It is. I talked to her myself." She didn't say a word for a long time, then finally whispered, "I made a mistake." I nodded. "Yeah, you did, but it's not too late to fix it." She looked up, tears streaming down her face. "You don't understand, Tevin. He controls everything. The money, the house, even my phone sometimes. If I fight him, he'll leave me with nothing." That's when I realized she was scared. Not weak, scared. I took her hand. "Mom, he already took everything. He turned you against your own son. What's left for him to take?" She looked at me with those same tired eyes and whispered, "I'll try." When we said goodbye that night, I actually felt a bit of hope. I thought maybe she'd finally see the truth. But a few days later, I got a text. Open quote, "Daniel found out I talked to you. He's furious. Please don't contact me for a while." Close quote. And just like that, she disappeared again. That's when I made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around and let that man destroy my family any further. I was done being quiet. So I started collecting everything. Screenshots, messages, social media posts, anything that proved what kind of person Daniel really was. I didn't know what I'd do with it yet, but I knew I needed proof, because something in my gut told me this wasn't over, not even close. After Mom's text, I didn't hear from her again for almost 2 months. No calls, no messages, Nothing. But I knew something was going on. Liam suddenly started posting fancy photos online. New sneakers, a PS5, even a new phone. Meanwhile, Mom's social media went completely silent. Not a single post. Not even one of her usual Sunday blessings updates. It didn't sit right with me. Then one evening, my aunt called again. "Tevin, have you heard from your mother?" "No." "Why?" "She called me crying last week. Said Daniel found out she'd been talking to you." My stomach dropped. What did he do? She didn't say, but she sounded terrified. That's when I decided I was done waiting. I told Chris I needed to swing by the house again. Not to talk, not to argue, but to make sure my mom was okay. He tried to talk me out of it, but I couldn't sit around any longer. It was a Sunday evening when I went back. The lights were on. Through the window, I could see Daniel sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. My mom was nowhere in sight. I knocked. He opened the door, saw me, and immediately scowled. "What do you want?" "I want to talk to my mom," I said firmly. "She doesn't want to see you." "Then let her tell me that." He tried to close the door, but I held it open. "Daniel," I said, my voice low, "if you don't let me see my mom, I'm calling the police." He glared at me for a few seconds before shouting, "Grace, your son's here." She came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Her eyes looked swollen, like she'd been crying for days. "Mom," I said softly, "we need to talk." She looked at Daniel, who crossed his arms. "Whatever you have to say it in front of me," he said. "Fine," I replied. "I know about Sophie. I know you cheated on your ex-wife with my mom. And I know you've been controlling her since the day she moved in here." He blinked, then smirked. "You think you know everything, huh?" "I know enough," I said. "And I've got proof. Messages, screenshots, even Sophie confirmed it herself." Mom gasped. "Tevin." Daniel turned to her. "You've been talking to him about this?" She stepped back. I didn't say anything." He slammed his hand on the table. "You ungrateful." "Stop," I shouted, stepping between them. "Don't talk to her like that." He turned to me, face red with anger. "Get out before I call the cops." "Go ahead," I said. "Maybe they'll be interested in your little secret life and the way you treat your wife and her kid." Liam came downstairs then, holding his phone, recording. "Dad, just call them," he said smugly. "This psycho's trespassing." "Psycho?" I snapped. "You lied about me hitting you, Liam. That's why I got kicked out." He shrugged. "You shouldn't have touched me then." That was it. I snapped. I took a step forward, but my mom grabbed my arm. "Tevin, please." Her voice was shaking. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw how scared she was. Not just of Daniel, but of losing control of everything. So I took a deep breath, turned around, and walked toward the door. But before leaving, I said, "You can kick me out again if you want, Daniel, but the truth's already out there. You can't hide forever." 2 days later, I woke up to 20 missed calls from my aunt. When I called back, her voice was shaking. "Tevin, your mom's here. She left him." I froze. "What?" "She showed up last night with a suitcase and a bruise on her arm. Said she couldn't take it anymore." I rushed over. Mom was sitting on the couch at my aunt's place, wrapped in a blanket, eyes red and tired. When she saw me, she started crying. "I'm sorry, baby," she sobbed. "You were right about everything." I hugged her. "It's okay, Mom. You're safe now." She told us everything. After our confrontation, Daniel went crazy, accused her of ruining his image, took her phone, and even locked her out of the bedroom for a night. She said she finally realized she couldn't keep pretending things were okay. So the next morning, while he was at work, she packed a few things and left. Liam stayed with his dad. For a while, things were quiet. My mom stayed at my aunt's house, trying to rebuild her life. She got a small job at a local shop and started saving money. I found a cheap bedsitter near school and focused on getting my grades back up. But then, Daniel started showing up again. He called her nonstop, showed up at her work, left notes on her car. One time, he even followed her to my aunt's gate, yelling about how she stole his son. My aunt threatened to call the police, and he finally backed off. But we all knew it wasn't over. Mom started therapy, and for the first time I saw her slowly becoming herself again. The woman who used to laugh easily, who'd hum while cooking dinner, who'd actually smile. One night, she sat me down and said, "I don't deserve your forgiveness, Tevin." "Yes, you do," I told her. "You made mistakes, but you chose to walk away. That's what matters." She nodded, tears in her eyes. "I'll never let anyone come between us again." A few months later, I got a message on Instagram from Sophie. Open quote. Hey, I heard what happened. I'm glad your mom got out. My dad's always been like that. Close quote. We talked for hours that night. Turns out Daniel had tried to get custody of her years ago, but she refused to live with him because of how he treated their mom. He's good at pretending, she said. He acts like the victim, but behind closed doors, he's poison. I told her everything. How he manipulated my mom, how he turned her against me, and how it all finally fell apart. Before we hung up, she said something I'll never forget. Open quote. You did the right thing, Tevin. It's hard standing up to someone like him, but you saved your mom. Close quote. Maybe she was right. A year later, things are better. Not perfect, but better. Mom has her own small apartment now, and we talk every day. We even started having Sunday dinners again, just the two of us, like it used to be. As for Daniel and Liam, I haven't seen them since that night. But I heard from Sophie that Liam dropped out of school and Daniel lost his job after some shady financial stuff came to light. Karma, I guess. Sometimes I still think about how fast everything changed, how one argument, one lie turned my whole world upside down. But maybe it had to happen that way, because now Mom and I are finally free. And this time, I'm not the one being kicked out. They are. End of part